Hey guys, this is Comic Uno and Comic Frontline, and today I'm doing Comic Uno episode 99. Now this is a show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show, and let's talk about the comics. We go worst pick of the week to best pick of the week, so number 20 to number 1. So let's get started. What was number 20? That was Scarlett Couture, issue 1. I actually enjoyed the first issue of Scarlett Couture, and I'm not going to stop reading the series. And it wasn't that bad of an issue, it just ended up being lower this week. I just felt like there was a lot of mumbo-jumbo spy stuff. It's like, go here, do AC1, claim out this. They just did a lot of mumbo-jumbo in the beginning. But then towards the end, we get a little bit more story, learning about our main character, Scarlett's family a bit more, her partners that she works with, who she likes more, and also the art really pops, and that's something I really like about the series, that it really pops the art. So again, it's not a bad issue, it just took a while to get to the point of stuff I liked about the series in the first place. But I will get issue 3, see where it goes. I don't know if it's a miniseries or not, but again, there's some generic stuff to it, but I do think it's unique enough to keep going. So I give it 3 stars, and we'll see where issue 3 goes. Alright, so let's move on to number 19, which is Just Society of America Convergence issue 2. Yeah, it's a bit lower again. The first complaint I had was they always talked about how old they were. And I guess because I don't have a connection to these characters that much, I just recently read Just Society of America, and it was the newer version. It was the Jeff Johns version. I like these characters, but again, there wasn't much of a connection, and this is mostly a big fight, this issue, which obviously a lot of these second issues of Convergence are, but it's just it's a big fight, and I thought it was a cool ending. They live, they end up not dying, and it's like, hey, we had good lives, and let's just like hang out and have coffee now. We're retired, it's good, but we had the chance to relive our glory days, and that's what the whole issue about is, reliving your glory days. And if you have a connection to these characters, I think you'll like the issue more. But for me, it was just it wasn't generic, but it was okay. It was an okay issue. So, Just Society of America Convergence issue 2 gets 3 stars for me. I think I gave it 3.5 in my review, but once I read more, it ended up being 3 stars. Alright, moving on to number 18. 10th Anniversary Snow White one-shot issue 1. Not a bad issue at all. Let me see what grade I gave it. I'm pretty sure I gave it 3.5. I did. I gave it 3.5. Not a bad issue at all. I liked it. Great artwork. If you like Grim Fairy Tales, it's the same artist, or at least it looks like the same artist. Same art style. And it focuses on our main character, Snow White. And she... I just started reading Grim Fairy Tales, so she has a connection to this book, and she's kind of this person that's connected to all these worlds to open up portals. And now we find this human who's able to find this book of stories of the real world telling their stories and opening up these portals. So that's pretty much what the whole story is about. And we get some Grim Fairy Tale stuff if you've been reading the series, like some supporting characters here. It feels very much like a Grim Fairy Tales issue. But yeah, what I didn't love about it is, I think because I watched Once Upon a Time, it felt so similar to that story. I mean, I'm sure the writer wasn't thinking about it, but because I read both of them, they just felt so similar. Like, oh, here's like the person who wrote this book. Your stories are real. Your stories are fake. Here's the normal world. Here's not the normal world. So yeah, I thought it was an okay issue. And also, I don't have a big connection to Snow White. I think I'm going to be having more of a connection to the Red Riding Hood character, and I'm actually really excited to read that one shot. But it was a good issue. I liked it. But I think if you've been reading Grim Fairy Tales for a longer time, you'll have this one higher than me. Alright, I think we're up to number 17 now. Let me check. We are up to number 17, which is Material issue 1, which is a new book, which I love the cover for. Again, I'm sorry I don't have the physical copy, but I read this digitally, and the cover looked beautiful. I'm like, oh, this is really interesting, and I saw like this line about celebrity stuff. I was like, oh, I'm always interested in celebrity culture, so let me read this. So it's kind of about what's real and what's not. It's this guy who's, into philosophy, and he's questioning the world. Like, do we matter, do we not matter? And there's some political stuff here. There's a lot of political stuff here. The whole Black Lives Matter thing, and there's a lot of political statements here, and I will say that. But we get to see different characters and how their lives are. You know, corruption of Hollywood. It's very much a political statement, this book. But it's also looking into, again, philosophy of the world. What matters, what doesn't matter. Does material goods matter? You know, what makes our lives special? And that's what I liked about the book. The artwork's a little bit, it's hard to get used to. And again, I personally, I like and dislike that it's such a political statement. It's interesting to see, you know, any story go into real world situations. But at the same time, I don't know how some of those real world situations connected to what they were saying about philosophy. And hopefully they'll connect it in future issues. And I will say that was my main problem here. But I like the philosophy aspect. And, you know, just a lot about perspective. This is very much about perspective. Like, oh, you see the letter A like this, you see the word like this, but really there's such a bigger picture than that. And those are things I liked about the issue. So again, I'm a little torn on it. I think I will give the second issue a try. I'll debate on it. But, you know, I think it had a okay start. So I gave this issue 3.5 stars. Now it's number 17. We're moving on to number 16. Number 16 is Nova issue 31. This was a pretty good issue. I think it takes a little while to get to the good stuff. Most of the issues, you know, Sam Alexander trying to fight for his father. And by the end of the issues, he's able to reunite with his father, with his family, and that's the issue. And then obviously debating who's going to be the Nova and who won't be. So that's going to be fun, hopefully when Secret Wars ends. But that's also a negative, is that we have to wait so long to find out that cliffhanger. We don't know if this series is going to continue, how it's going to continue, and that's kind of the annoying part of Secret Wars. Because, like, I'm enjoying a lot of these other Marvel series, and they're kind of ending it right there. So that's disappointing. But with this, and also you're going to see an 8-month jump after Secret Wars. So we don't even know if these stories are going to be retold or not, or, you know, gathered up. But yeah, this issue I really liked for the ending. You know, I like the father and son bond. I love when we get to see Sam's mother, you know, interact with her husband again, and seeing the family together again. That was really great. Again, it takes a really long time to get to that point, and we've been waiting for this for such a long time. I think it was a bit prolonged in the series. So that's why I gave the issue a 3.5, and I'm still not a big fan of this style of artwork. I do like the other style a bit better, but 3.5 for me. That was number 16. Alright, moving on to number 15, which is Tales of Terror, issue 11. This is an anthology book, which I really enjoy, and I'm usually not a big anthology fan, where it's like, oh, like, why does it matter? It's these one-shot issues that, you know, are not going into a bigger picture. But I really enjoy Tales of Terror because of the hauntingness of it. Every issue has some haunting point, and here is still very haunting. It actually reminded me of the movie The Haunting, with the whole garden in the home, and it's about this girl who had cancer, and her father cured her, but made her a monster at the same time. And, of course, you have the other story about this girl wanting to kill, or did kill her boyfriend, trying to find a shovel, in like a Home Depot type place, so I guess that's connected to the garden story in some way. Yeah, it had a lot of good twists and turns, good artwork. I won't say it was like totally impressive, but I've read better Tales of Terror stories, but I still liked it. It was a good issue. I think it's worth picking up, and if you like these type of stories, it was a good addition. So I gave it 3.5 stars. Alright, what are we up to now? I think we're up to number 14. We are up to number 14, which is Outcast, issue 9. So this is Robert Kirkman's book that I haven't heard a lot of people talking about. I know it's supposed to be a TV show at some point. It's a very slow burn, I'll say that, but I've been enjoying it for the most part, because I want to, like, find out about, like, more about these secondary characters, honestly. And I will say that's something I feel like this series is missing, is secondary characters. Like, you have the pastor, you have our main Outcast, but there's so many interesting secondary characters that could be introduced here, but they don't, and it's like kind of annoying because it's such a slow burn. I'm like, I kind of want to learn more about the wife. I want to see that. I want to see more about his sister. I want to see more about this police officer, and it's just such a slow burn. But I like this issue because we are learning a little bit more about the Outcast himself, what it means to be an outcast. But I feel like I've seen it again before, so it's like, you gave us a little, I want a little bit more, and I think it's preventing people to read the book because it's such a slow burn and single issue, and I hope it does gain its pace a bit and, you know, give us a reason to really like this series. But one thing that I've been keeping this series for is the artwork. The artwork is beautiful and how they have panels to zoom into special features of a character or even a situation. So that's something I really like about the issue. So I give Outcast issue 9 3.5 stars. I think it has a lot of potential and I'm keeping to the book, but I can see why people could be dropping the book soon too because the pace is a bit off. Alright, we're moving on to number 13. Number 13 is Convergence Shazam, issue 2. You know, I did like issue 1 a bit more. I actually think it was a bit higher when the week came out, but I still enjoyed this issue too. The artwork, once again, is just beautiful. I just want to show you this splash page, which looks great when he gets electrocuted. We get to see Billy and Captain Marvel fighting for possession. So I really enjoyed that. And, you know, most of this issue is a fight, and I think some of the second issues have done well with balancing character moments and fighting. Here, you do get to see character moments, but a lot less than that first issue, so that's why, for me, I wasn't taken aback to it. And also, the Batman villains kind of felt random, like, why is Shazam fighting, or, you know, Captain Marvel fighting Batman villains? But by the end, it does give you hope that we will see this version of Captain Marvel in the future, which makes me happy. And, yeah, overall, artwork was really good. Story was okay, and I gave it a 3.5 stars rating. Moving on to number 12, which is Effigy, issue 5. This is a book I've been enjoying for the most part. I really like Tim Seeley's independent books. I mean, I love Revival. It's one of my favorite series. And Effigy's been impressing me. And this issue is a good point A to point B issue. Learning a bit more about our main character, Chandler. I want to say it's pronounced Chandler. And her look on Hollywood. She never wanted to be an actress, and I thought that was a really interesting point of this issue, is her, you know, outburst to her mother, just like kind of pouring her soul, like, you wanted to be this person. I didn't want to make a sex tape. You don't know how awkward it was for me to do that. She kind of takes it in stride, and then you see her passion kind of pour into the work she's doing now as a police officer, helping people. And this bigger case of it being connected to her, and now the detective, and now her friend Edie, who she's known from childhood, and who's the super fan of Star Cops, or I think it's called Star Cops. So it has a very interesting cliffhanger to learn a little bit more about Edie's character, and you know, learning more about this mystery. And I'm intrigued to see where this goes. And again, I love the commentary in Hollywood, and a really interesting main character. So I gave Effigy issue 5 3.5 stars. I do think there's previous issues that are better, but this was a good point A to point B issue to get the story flowing. All right, now we're up to, I think, number 12. No, we're up to number 11, which is Secret Wars Journal, issue 1. I wanted this issue to be a bit higher because I love the first part of this issue, which is Kate's story. Love that issue, and I'm really excited to pick up Siege because of it. And I thought it was perfect. It was everything I loved about Young Avengers in a medieval place. And also, I thought it brought out a lot of Kate's character. Like, she's a rich girl, but she's doing the right thing here. So I enjoyed that. And I think she didn't find an Infinity Gem. That was Infinity Gauntlet. But she found some orb in the end that I'm sure is going to lead into Siege. But really enjoyed that story. Artwork is beautiful for the Kate story. So I kind of wish that was the whole issue, because that's the story I really enjoyed. But why this issue is a bit lower is actually the second part, this X-Men story. I just was not into it. It's like they turned into werewolves / mummies in the end. It didn't connect to anything. I was like, oh, I guess you're showing us this world, but it wasn't that interesting. And Kitty Pryde was the main character. I still just didn't care about it. It was just like, it was the name of our characters, but there was no personality to them. And also the art was a bit murky, so I didn't like that. But again, the Kate issue is so perfect, and then you got an okay issue in the end. So that's why Secret Wars Journal issue 1 got 3.5 stars, but still pick it up, especially for the Kate portion of the issue. Alright, we are moving on to number 10, which is Convergence issue 8. Yeah, Convergence issue 8, I thought this was a very solid issue. We get to see that the multiverses will exist. I guess my only problem with the issue is that, are they going to use the multiverse in Divergence? What's going on with that? Is like they do leave you on a cliffhanger. There's no actual certainty that they will use the multiverse. Is it just to make fans comfortable that, you know, the New 52 is here, but that still exists? I don't know. And also, it took so long to get to this point. But overall, I like seeing that they all fought together to get the multiverse, and it's interesting that they, you know, created the multiverse again. So, yeah, and, you know, the Earth 2 is being rebuilt. I'll try Earth 2 Society, even though I'm kind of tired of Earth 2 at this point. I'll try it out up to the Lois Lane issue. I want to see how they deal with Lois. But yeah, Convergence issue 8 was a solid book. I like the multiverse stuff, and, you know, pretty good artwork too. I will say there could have been more detail on people's faces, but the coloring's so great that it makes it pop so well. It's still great artwork, but just to nitpick a little. So Convergence issue 8, 4 stars. Now it's number 10. Alright, moving on to number 9, which is the Infinity Gauntlet issue 1. Yeah, this is an issue that I was super excited for, and I still really enjoyed. It was a solid book with some great mysteries lined into the book. And I will say Secret Wars was a lot better this week than last week because there's a lot of new stories, a lot of new characters, and it doesn't feel like they're starting from the middle. They're starting from the beginning here. So Infinity Gauntlet does the same thing. We have Infinity Gems. We're learning more about our main character, who's about 9 years old, but obviously grown up for a world she lives in. Sorry. But yeah, she's grown up for the age she lives in, and, you know, she's kind of against her mother, because her mother was a Nova, and she left, and she's like, well, now you left us on this world with insects trying to hurt us, and then the mother comes back to save them. So it's like, oh, it's been a while, and we'll see how their connection is. But yeah, it's a really interesting issue, sets up some great characters. I enjoyed the family. The artwork was took me a little while to get used to the artwork, but I liked it for the most part, even though it looked a bit bulky in the beginning. Yeah, overall I thought this was a very solid issue, and it gets me excited to read more. So the Infinity Gauntlet issue 1 gets a solid 4 stars. Alright, moving on to number 8, which is Postal, issue 4. I've been pleasantly surprised with Postal. You know, when I first read it, I was like, I just kind of like picked it up at whim. I was like, you know, Stephen King's son, let's read it. And I've liked his stuff on American Vampire, because he started out with American Vampire with Scott Snyder. Or maybe that was Stephen King. I think they all wrote it. Don't quote me on that. But, you know, I have read some of his work in the past, and I want to try this out. And it's a really cool series. I really like the world they built of criminals not doing the wrong thing, but at the same time doing the wrong thing. There's really interesting family drama here. You know, the main character who I'm trying to think of the word. For some reason I'm blanking, but who's Slow, he's the main character, and he wants to be a vigilante, which is really cool, and the mother's like, you can't do that, and we'll see if family's more, or blood's more important than her job. And then we learn more about the character Maggie, who seemed this innocent girl who really is not innocent and will kill anyone. She's a really badass character. So this is a very solid story, and also what I like about this is that it plays on God and the devil. It had a lot of religious undertones in this issue, which I always like exploring. So Postal issue 4, very solid issue with really interesting characters. Alright, now we're up to number... I'm up to number 7, which is Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, issue 3. So Big Thunder Mountain. Another series I've been pleasantly surprised with. I picked it up at whim. I was like, oh, you know, it's a Disney book. I'll try it out. And I really like it. And this issue was another great addition, where we get to see our main character really learn about her father and learning that he's corrupt. He just wants money and he doesn't really care about people's lives. And she learns that throughout this issue. And something I really enjoyed about her character. She has spunk. That's what I really like about her character. She has a lot of spunk. And now, the people she thought were criminals, she's now joining. She's going to become a criminal and go against her father. So I'm really looking forward to that. I thought it was a nice twist on the story, and it's just a fun joyride. It makes me want this series as an ongoing, so I would like to follow her story more. So yeah, solid 4 stars, and I think that if this was another week and it didn't have so many great books, this could have been easily on my top 5. All right, moving on to number 6, which is Secret Wars 2009 issue 1. Yeah, Secret Wars was really good. I was really surprised with this book because I'm not a big fan of 2009 world. I mean, I read the current Spider-Man 2009 book. That's really all I've read. And I was like, oh, I'll just pick it up randomly. I'm currently reading the book that's going on now, so why not try it out? And I thought they introduced the world so well. Learning more about this Captain America character, that she has 2 personalities, the Black Widow character, who was a great opening because she's with her boyfriend and she's like, oh, I don't really like the Avengers. And then she's part of the Avengers. She's willing to kill. We have Vision in the end who makes an appearance. Just so many great twisted turns with really good artwork. And good chemistry with these new characters. They are new characters, I've heard. So it makes me want to follow their story and see where this goes. So Secret Wars 2009 issue 1 gets a solid 4 stars, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. Okay, so now we're up to top 5. Number 5 is Inferno issue 1. This was really good, and mostly because of the artwork too. The artwork's just beautiful. I mean, look at Ileana's face, and then she goes like all devil-like. She has blank eyes, and then she just goes devil. So that was cool. But what I like about this issue is, I personally have never been a big Magic fan. Like, I haven't read a lot of her books, but, except if she's in an X-Men book, but I haven't read, like, just Ileana's stories, especially her time in Hell. But I've always wanted to learn more about her character and get into her character a bit more, and I thought this was a good jumping on point. It was. It tells, it's characters we know, but they do twist it and make it feel like a beginning. Like I said, the difference from the week 1 to week 2 is that it feels like the beginning of a story more than the middle of it. It's like, oh, who are these characters? They really tell the story very well. And it's Colossus, like, not accepting that his sister is a devil, is demon. And so many people dying on the line because of it. So just a really interesting way to twist the X-Men mythology and making them police officers. Just a really cool roster too. Making Cyclops Professor X. Very cool issue. I'm looking forward to seeing where this one goes. So Inferno issue 1 gets a solid 4 stars for me. And now it's number 5. Alright, moving on to number 4, which is All New Hawkeye, issue 3. This was a good issue. I really like the chemistry between Kate and Clint, and that's why it did make top 5 for me. One thing I didn't like about the issue, I still am not liking these flashbacks. I mean, I get why they're connected and, learning how he became Hawkeye, but they were kind of distracting. Like, I mean, it's original, but at the same time, like, I know Clint's origins, it's been told before. I'd really like to see them explore this with Kate, because yeah, we know some of Kate's origins, but not a lot. Especially her transition of, rich girl to person fighting crime. I'd like to see that. But, most of the story is present story anyways, and that's what I really enjoyed about this issue, is that, that Kate and Clint bond, and, Kate wanting to save these children and, hopefully finding out more about these children. And I love the little names that the children give Clint and Kate, liking Kate more than Clint. It's like, oh, we like Katie, Kate, Hawkeye, but we don't like Clinty, Clint, Hawkeye. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, it was a good artwork, good story, and like I said, very great chemistry between Clint and Kate, which is important. So Hawkeye, issue 3, gets 4 stars, and that's number 4. So moving on to number 3, Invincible, issue 120. Wonderful issue, wonderfully done issue of Invincible. What I like about this issue, well, first of all, we get to see some blood, so we get to see some fighting here, which is always great. But what I love about this issue is this is more about Mark bonding with Tara. You know, most of the issues that we've seen with Tara in, you know, this family has always been with Eve and Mark and Tara. It's never been Mark and Tara just bonding. And you really see how Mark has changed as character because of it. And there's one scene I didn't mention in my in-depth review, but I'm going to mention here, is that he has this, like, light in his eyes when he's talking about Tara. Like, it just reminded me so much of, like, the beginning of Invincible, where, and I want to get to that scene. It's kind of right there. It's just these light in his eyes, like, oh, I'm talking about my girl, my baby girl. So I thought that was really cool. And it brings me back to that kind of innocence he had in the beginning of the series, so way back in the beginning of the series, issue 1. But yeah, Invincible just had so many great beats here. You know, still dealing with other arcs, you know, dealing with Omni-Man and all those stories, you know, him still getting raped, you know, dealing with that, and building more of his, Omni-Man building more of their people, and mating. So there's a lot of stories that are being progressed at the same time, but what I love about Invincible, and I said this in my in-depth review, I love that this is, yes, it's a superhero story, and there's so many superhero elements, and yes, they're in space, but it's one of the most grounded superhero stories, even though they are in space, and that's what I really like about Invincible. And then there's one point in the issue where, Mark saves this cat from a tree, or cat, and they're like, oh, it was nice that you did that, and the little girl bites his head off. He's like, thanks, it was really expensive, and Mark's like, I'm never gonna get used to this, and that's really interesting. It's like, hey, at least we'll never forget this, you know, it's an inside joke we'll all have. So I love that moment. It just felt very, family-esque, that we all, you know, every family has those inside stories, like, oh, that just happened, and of course it's very heightened in this book. But yeah, Invincible issue 120, 4.5, really well done issue. That's number 3. So number 2 for me was Industruectible Stingray. I really enjoyed this book. The one reason I did not make it pick of the week is that it's only a one-shot. And I was like, what? They gave you this major cliffhanger. It's just like, I want more so bad. But that's also why it is high up, because I want more. What this book is about, it's about this girl who's a mutant, and she's like, or, you know, mutant, and she's part of this team, and at first the team doesn't really accept her, but, you know, she's a good person to have on their team, because of good PR to have, this young girl who, you know, swims well, and she seems nice, so, you know, everyone starts to like her, and then she's able to save some children, and I was like, oh, you know, I have respect for you now, and then, you know, she gained her respect throughout the issue. And then we find out that her father's forcing her to be part of the team, and she's working for the evil guy. She's working for her father. I mean, obviously it seems like she wants to be a hero. She's very torn by it, but her family is villains, you know, and she did something to make her brother go to jail. Like, she's been evil before, so I was like, whoa, that's an awesome twist. So yeah, the reason it didn't make Pick of the Week was because this is only a one-shot, and I want so much more, even if it was a mini-series or something, but please buy the books. In the letter it said if, you know, enough books are bought, they could do more stories. So I would really like to see more stories of this issue, so spread the word. It was really nice twists and turns here, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was a really cool story, and I didn't expect it, but it was really cool. So that's number 2. Alright, now moving on to Pick of the Week, which is Injustice Gods Among Us, Year 4, Issue 2. I will say, the end of Year 3 was getting a little lengthy. I was like, has it been time that Injustice should end? And once I read Issue 1, I was like, such a good issue. But then when I read this issue, it goes back to what I love about Injustice. Twists and turns, and fun, and great character moments. We get, first of all, Harley being Harley, which is awesome. She goes to Billy's school to pretend to be his mother, and hits him over with a hammer. So that was cool. We get to see Renee go you know, kind of crazy because Huntress has died and, you know, her friend has died and she overdoses on pills to try to kill Superman, doesn't even kill him, does nothing to him, and she dies, you know, for Huntress, for Helena. And Bruce promises Superman that he won't go into Cal anymore, and he goes into Cal by the end of the issue, so, well, we're going to defeat Superman anyway, so, you know, there's still this war going on. And then the last part of the issue, seeing that Oracle might become Batgirl again, which we saw in the cover for the next issue, so I'm super excited about that. Maybe they're creating another Connor Kent, it looks like, another clone, because I saw Lex Luthor in the end saying, no problem, we're doing something, and there's this clone thing going on, so it could be a Connor Kent. I know Connor does exist in the Injustice universe already, so we'll see what happens. But very good issue, again, great character development, great artwork, and just great twists and turns, and that's what I love about Injustice. So this issue did everything I love about the series. It really brought my interest back into the series. So Justice Gods Among Us was my pick of the week. Let me know in the comments below what was your pick of the week, what was your worst pick of the week, and everything in between. And next week I have Comic Uno episode 100. Very excited about that. So I don't know if I'll do something special, but we'll see. But hope you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno and Comic Frontline. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there's links for my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. I'll see you guys later. Bye.